Hi everyone, this is Matt. Welcome to the Real Gamerscore podcast. This week I'm joined by Cameron.
Hey.
And Freem, who stopped recording so he didn't get a chance to say hi, but it's fine, he's on this episode. Here at Real Gamerscore, we like to discuss all things Xbox, achievements, and how the thought police are coming for your hot takes. This week we talk about developer diplomacy, Nintendo's nostalgia nuances, and how driving games are for plebs. But first, here's the song of the week. Friday boost and it's time to go. Trying to earn that one Chivo. Want a game that's just right. Getting to that ping. Gonna be the Chivo King. Time to let my game skills fly. The guide is in and the ratio's high. With a bit of effort and a little bit of grind, you're in the mood for an achieve. When you get that pop, you are the Chivo King. Sleep deprive on hour 17. Chivo King. Time to beat all achievement dreams, oh yeah. Alright, another banger of a song by me. Thanks, me. Guys, any ideas what it is? I hope you get it, because if you don't, I've done a terrible, terrible job.
The first 40 seconds, meant absolutely nothing to me. And then when we hit 40 seconds, it was just, quite clearly Dancing Queen by ABBA.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, alright, okay, well done. Okay, that's good.
Yep, 100%. I had it in the beginning, but it was like, this could be any number of ABBA songs, and then all of a sudden the chorus kicked in. It's like, oh yeah!
It was either that or Fernando, it's my two favorites. Alright, well, welcome to the show, everyone. We've got our wonderful guest, Freamwhole. Or do you prefer Freamwhole? Freem? What do you usually go by?
Sure. All of those work.
Great. Alright, we'll go with Freem.
Freem is usually the easiest. I like one-syllable nicknames, so let's stick with that.
That works.
That makes sense. Alright, so welcome to the show, everybody. Hopefully you guessed the song of the week before we did. I know that probably Mr. Mad Rokotansky is probably shouting it in the chat right now and ruining it for everyone on the Discord. Speaking of Discord, discord.io/realgamerscore is our big Discord chat room. If you don't know what Discord is, it's basically a place where you can come and hang out with members of the community, us. We chat shit, we talk about video games, talk about the podcasts. We've also got an area for questions. If you want to have some questions answered on the show, we've got quite a few of them this week, which is great. We always appreciate those. We've also got a Patreon, patreon.com/realgamerscore, which is a way to give us some cash so we can keep the server running, do giveaways, that kind of stuff. I am going to get Kirby to help bring back the Real Gamerscore Word Challenge next week. Mark my words, it's happening. It's happening. I'm gonna badger him until he does it, but I'm not going to let him tell us what it is, and also make sure he writes the clues so I don't fuck them up.
Could it be like the Real Gamerscore Sudoku, maybe?
Okay, Real Gamerscore Bingo.
Yeah, text twist.
I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing Real Gamerscore Twister, actually, at the next event we go to.
There you go.
Freem, so it's your first time on the show, right?
Yes, it is. Long-time listener, first-time talker on this show.
Yeah, on this show, yeah. Do you want to do a bit of an introduction?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Freamwhole. He, him are my pronouns, and I used to be the old host of the Z to Z podcast with Terrigan. That's how I came across your guys' show once that show kind of dissolved. We did that show for 3 years, I think. And, again, it was just an awesome, fun way to talk about video games. We were achievement-centric, very Xbox-heavy. If you listen to the old archives, which are tough to find these days because I don't want to continue to pay for servers, but some people have them sitting around in Dropboxes around the internet. You can listen to old episodes, and they're so very similar to what we have, what you guys have here, only with a little bit more Western Hemisphere vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can really feel like we try to keep the spirit of Z to Z. I've gone back and listened to some of the old episodes, and it's been really interesting actually to see how RGS has sort of taken some of those things, changed them a little bit. But yeah, I definitely see what you're saying.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of how it goes. Is you ultimately need to evolve to continue to be fresh and relevant, and find good things to talk about. Ultimately, if you just keep rehashing the same topics over and over, it gets a little stale. And there's only so many times you can talk about how each month you do Microsoft Bingo, and it's just not super compelling. Turns out.
I'd say I think loot boxes are our bugbear on topics that we've beaten into the dirt.
Yep. Well, that's just what happens. So, in terms of my gaming, I'm typically, I'd like to consider myself a completionist, but I'm more of a realist when it comes to completions. Now, I love getting every achievement I possibly can, but I'm an old man with 2 kids, and so that significantly hinders that ability to get through games efficiently. So I've adopted I've kind of co-opted from another listener. I think he listens to this one, but he's definitely the Achievement Hunting 101 community, Chewy on Ice. And if you ever see his blog, he does a bit called Chewy in the Middle, which is kind of a Malcolm in the Middle. And he puts Chewbacca in there. And his whole thing is essentially what I pulled for my own and modified it a bit. And what I call it is I want my games to reach retirement age. And what retirement age is on a game is where I complete the story, right? Let's see credits on the story, what they intend me to do, and I get 65% of what the available achievements are, right? We hit retirement age, and at that point, then I can make a decision, do I really want to finish this piece of garbage or not? So I can write stuff off like Gears of War right away, where it's like, okay, I just need to get to retirement age on this because I will never do seriously. I will never do that kind of nonsense. So, get what I can and toss it. And that has really been my focus this year in terms of just cleaning up the backlog. And I think ultimately as we continue to grow and age, you're going to see these games, although, yes, the Xbox continues to have the backwards compatible. We've got 4 generations of games going, but the 360 era is that transition period where you go from peer-to-peer to server-based games. Now, peer-to-peer is awesome because those will stay up for a really long time, and the likelihood of you being able to get those achievements down the road will continue to persist, kind of. But now you're getting to that age where we've got those Xbox One games that are server-based, and once that dries up, those things are going to start shutting down. And I can only get so many Xbox Game Pass games and server closures done in a month. So we're trying to get ahead of the game on that one. Other than that, I play pretty much everything. I ultimately just don't care for racing games, and not much of a sports title guy. So... But
perfect. No, you're right on my level, Frame.
I can disagree with you with the sports, but racing is like where it's at.
Here's the thing with racing, like I love a Forza Horizon, an arcade racer, and as part of my random to-do list pool, I have, there's like 1,000 games in my pool, but I pick 120 of them, and those are my curated games list. And in there, based on a percentage of my backlog, I'm allowed 1 simulation racer and 1 arcade racer in the pool. And so, I think we've got, what's that garbage arcade racer I just finished? Not Cell Damage, but there was another one, just one of those like cruddy Xbox arcade racers. And then my sim racer, I should pull it up.
I've had Vigilante 8 sitting in my 360 backlog for a long time because it's non-backwards compatible, and I just need to get around to finishing it.
I can understand the disdain for simulation racing, but like arcade racing is where it's at.
Yeah, they're and they all have their their places, and that's why I'll allow myself 1, because if I don't, it's Crazy Taxi is currently
come on,
racer.
Iconic.
Yeah. I beat that on the Dreamcast back in the day, and so now it's just having to go back. And actually, I have it on my random to-do list, so I got to go back. Oh, my simulation racer is MX versus ATV Alive.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah,
amazing.
Just a gem. So I don't know what's on deck, but once those get pulled, and then I can pull up the next one and just continue to check them off the list. You'll see on my list, if you ever poke around on my active games, big Metroidvania guy. I love me some turn-based strategy, and I'm pretty much the collectible card games, and we can talk about that when we get into kind of what we've been playing, but it's just a general hodgepodge of what I like to do with my time.
Oh, Freem, you're speaking my language, mate. That's fantastic. I'm glad I have another ally on this show, and I don't have to put up with this racing bullshit all the time.
Yeah, and when I listen to the show too, I do sense a kindred spirit, and it's like, oh, okay, I feel like you said, speaking your language.
Well, fantastic. Let's get into the show. We're gonna just do the one news story today, I think. Cameron, do you want to introduce this one? This is some sort of late breaking news.
All right, so I'm just trying to think the best way to describe this. The Ori director, the director for Moon Studios, which of course is known for both Ori games, put a post up saying his disdain for certain prominent members of the gaming community, certain devs, certain gaming celebrities as well, overhyping games and making players fools in the midst of it.
Yeah. So a bit of an interesting story, but he basically came out with a there was a Reset Era post they put up. Is that why are gamers so eager to trust and forgive the snake oil salesman? Which is a controversial title to begin with. But essentially, he was talking about they were essentially selling lies and deception. He was talking about things like Peter Molyneux with the Fable series, No Man's Sky, and CD Projekt Red, obviously with Cyberpunk. And then he also, criticized journalists for basically buying into stuff, and essentially that so many game developers overhype.
Criticized Jeff Keighley as well.
Yep.
Rewarding that kind of behavior.
Exactly, for basically this whole industry being just a massive hype machine that can't help but, drive pre-orders and just disappoint in general. I mean, Ephraim, did you get a chance to read this?
Yeah, I've seen it poking around, and my initial thought was like, is this a gotcha media guy? And now that I'm looking at this, and it's like, essentially he posted this like just out of the blue. This is unprompted, and he's just like, wow. So the fact that he felt so strongly about this kind of surprises me. Ultimately, I don't want to say he's wrong or he's right, because this is a completely fair opinion. But inherently, these people who are creating these games are passionate about what they're doing, and they have all these things they want to do, and they want to provide these things, this experience to everybody. But sometimes it doesn't work. So often you hear about all these games coming together in the last couple of weeks. Everything's coming in hot, and you smash it together, and sometimes you get, cornucopia of beauty, and other times you get the dog's breakfast. So it's such a crapshoot. Now, do some of these guys, throwing the Molyneux card in there, man, wow, that's some shade. But, yeah, he probably knew better. I'm surprised Kojima wasn't on here. He's another guy who says some things now, but he's been able to deliver. Is kind of where, maybe he flips away from this hype machine, because he's been able to deliver some of those really iconic and unique things. But again, you want people to be excited just as excited as you are. So it's hard for me to fault these people who go into this industry to be passionate and come up with really amazing things, and then forces, well, maybe it's not totally beyond their control, but ultimately external forces cause them to push out a product that isn't quite what they want. Would Molyneux love to have the Kinect kid come out, Milo, come out of the screen like the girl from The Ring and do a little dance with you, and you can play, fetch and whatnot? Of course he would. Could we get that to work in 2007? No. That was not going to happen.
Yeah, I tend to agree for the most part. It's kind of a tricky one, because you're right. They have grand ambitions, but I think his point really was that, and the games that he mentioned, No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk, is that I think the key thing there is if the game is hyped and it delivers on most of that hype, Like we don't even think about it, right?
Yeah.
Like there have been games that have been overhyped, like you bring up Kojima. Metal Gear Solid 5, I think, was somewhat of a disappointment.
Yeah.
In terms of in the story department and the fact that Kojima basically didn't get to finish the game as such, quote unquote finish. I mean, again, there's one of the things that we talk about a lot on the show is at the end of the day we don't know what goes on behind a lot of the scenes because the game industry is very, very secretive in terms of what they do in terms of development and who's pulling strings, where's money coming from, what pressures do they have, what situations are they in. So we have to sort of surmise on the information they give us. But he does raise a good point that if the information they give us is bullshit, like I think we're right to call them out on that. And the fact that that they're journalists and publications, especially in order to get clicks and to stay relevant, feed into this hype and try to encourage this sort of behavior rather than doing quote unquote proper journalism. Not to say that there isn't that out there, but we've definitely seen over the years a trend towards the more sort of clickbaity stuff and less sort of journalistic integrity in terms of what people are reporting on video games. But yeah, I think like, and obviously he came up with an update to this basically this morning, basically being like, hey, like the tone that I took with this was massively over aggressive, and it wasn't his intention to hurt anyone, but more of a discussion starter. But not he basically didn't come out and say that he disagrees with his opinion or that he takes back anything he said, but the sort of tone in which he said it. I mean, I'll read out one of the quotes here. Don't paint a picture that you'll not be able to deliver. Don't just fucking lie to me. You're fucking over gamers. You're fucking over journalists that should know better. So shame on you. And you're fucking over other developers. But which, I don't disagree with the sentiment, but yeah, probably not the most diplomatic way to present that argument.
100%. And go ahead, Cam.
I was gonna say I 100% agree with the flack of No Man's Sky though in Cyberpunk, because No Man's Sky, that multiplayer, it was advertised, yeah?
Yeah, so they were talking, essentially, Sean Murray was asked a lot of questions before the game came out, and he answered yes to a lot of them that didn't end up being the case.
Yeah. So definitely misleading consumers there, and same thing with Cyberpunk being shady about the whole, we're only giving PC copies out as review codes.
Yeah.
And even then, what was it, 2 days before release?
Yeah, a lot of stuff they kept pretty close to the chest, which is, they're right, it's their game. But I think that, there is an element of buyer beware in terms of how video games work, right? Yeah. Stop pre-ordering games. Just don't fucking do it. There's literally no reason to pre-order a game in 2021. I cannot think of a single reason why it'll go on sale. It'll go on sale for at least 25% off at some, within the first 3 months most of the time, unless it's an Activision title. Yeah. It'll probably end up on Game Pass and within probably a year or two. And if you get a game later on, it'll have all the bug fixes that you need, rather than just being a beta tester who paid for it, right?
The only justification I can see is if you're a die-hard fan of the series. That's at the very far extent.
I guess if you want to play it day and date, no matter how bad it is, then sure. But just buy it on release. Don't pre-order. Don't give them the money for something you don't already have. There's I get it if it's a limited run, physical release, and there's 500 copies they're making, then sure, put a pre-order in to make sure you get your steel bookcase or whatever the fuck you want. But if it's a digital game, there is no reason. The only reason, and we talk about we talk about a lot of old games on the podcast because it's just what we happen to be playing rather than the latest releases.
Right.
Partly because we're broke, but also partly because we don't really see the incentive to be
first,
first and day and date on those games unless you desperately want to be part of the discourse. And so for example, I'll talk about the Medium when we get there because that came out on Game Pass, and it's a relatively short narrative experience, and that kind of makes sense. I didn't pre-order it, I didn't pay for it, I just played it on Game Pass.
Yep.
But I didn't play Call of Duty Cold War when it came out. I didn't play Madden. I haven't basically played any of this stuff. Yeah. And I probably won't because it just doesn't really feel like it's worth it.
I think the one place I'll disagree on, quote unquote pre-ordering is Kickstarter, right?
Sure.
That is effectively a pre-order, but you are saying I trust you to take my money and make the game that I want. And so you've told me what you're trying to do, and I know you've woefully underestimated how much you need. every single one of you has done this.
Yeah.
But I will give you my $20 because I think in 4 or 5 years from now, you're going to give me the game at least that I'm semi-wanting. And I want you to realize your dream. And, these smaller people, go ahead and take some risks and have some fun and see what happens. That's okay. Activision, they don't need my $20. They're
Exactly.
doing just fine without my $20 or my $70 pre-order. They can get my money later down the road when they probably are still sitting on a pile of my Skylanders money. So they're doing just fine.
It's like, between that and their Overwatch loot boxes, I think they're doing okay.
And then to continue on, that whole looking at, like, let's take Sean Murray, for instance, right? He's got a vision for this game in his mind, and he has asked questions, and he is answering the questions based on what he, A, wants to deliver, and B, what he thinks he can deliver. Now, he could be wrong. 100% he could be wrong. But my guess is, and maybe I don't know him, so I can't necessarily speak for him, but I know myself, and I'm fairly analytical. And so if my son comes to me and says, hey, Dad, I need to go to the store. Do you think I'll make it there safely? Can you 100% guarantee that I'll make it to the store safely? My answer is no. I cannot 100%. You might get hit by a meteor from space. There's a non-0% chance that can happen. Is it likely? Absolutely not. So he is likely answering these questions of saying, well, this is what I'm making, this is what I'm doing, and now the person on the receiving end, the journalist at this point, then has to accept that, understand it, and then turn it back out to the wider audience. And again, we're playing telephone here. So I know so many of these journalists, they see, their viewers or games media, any of them, they see these games so early in development. They'll see slices, they'll see, either vertical slices or maybe a small playable demo, a fragment, and I know they'll see builds where they're like, oh, hey, yeah, don't worry about that texture, we'll fill that in later. That'll be addressed in the day one patch. Don't worry about that. This is what you should expect. And they can see a cool gameplay loop. They can see some character models. And now the journalists have to then project what they think the game is going to be at launch. Because everything it's a moving target the entire way up. If games were ready when the disc was printed, Cyberpunk 2077 is on disc. That I don't know if anyone has yet to play it in its unpatched state, but man, that thing's got to be a hunk of hot garbage because the game development continued all the way up until December when it released, and it's still in development. I mean, we're nowhere near the finished product yet. So to be able to nail down what you're going to get at day one, I understand he could be frustrated. And you know what? These guys did the right thing, I think, by delaying Ori, continuing to work on it. They took the approach of saying, this isn't to our standards yet, and we are a small team that can afford to wait. CD Projekt Red already pushed the game back from April of 2020. I mean, they are on fumes. They need the money. Now, granted, did it help that they said a whole bunch of things that maybe weren't quite true? Yeah, well, they made all their money back on pre-orders. Would they broke even after day one or day two?
Yeah.
Hey, that's great. But now I think they owe it to everyone who purchased, and they paid plenty in refunds, but to really finish that game like people want. And, are people now... they were riding high off Witcher. I mean, people thought they could do no wrong. And I'm sure the asking price, if someone wanted to acquire them, was astronomical. Has that changed quite a bit? Oh, yeah. Is CD Projekt Red's next game, are you going to be excited about it? Yeah, I'll be excited. Am I going to come with a hefty amount of skepticism? Oh, yeah, absolutely. They have a lot more to prove on their next title and in any continued work that they do on Cyberpunk here.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that, like you said, they don't promise these things out of malice, right? Like this is not for the most part, I have to assume, is not an intentional, and intentionally trying to mislead people, right? Like a lot of this is scope creep. This is development issues. This is COVID. Like there's a lot going on. But I think that, like you said, we're playing telephone, and we get a glimpse at what's happening in the industry, and we have to make our assumptions based on that. So I really think that. Like obviously, Sean Murray promised a lot of stuff, but he is talking about a video game to a media person, and he knows that this is going to go out to a lot of people. Right. So I really feel like if you have a large development game that is not complete, you either need to shut the fuck up and just make it and then bring it out, or you need to be as open as possible about the development and any issues you're running into or any delays, so people understand what's going on and don't just draw their own assumptions. Like you said about Kickstarter, like I think that most people who are investing in Kickstarter as such are a bit more savvy in terms of what they're getting into, and that leads to a slightly different mindset around that. Because there is nothing to stop them in Kickstarter from saying, "We spent all the money, the game didn't turn out. That's it. You're not getting anything." Like that has it.
The thing with Kickstarter too is the fact that you're selling a pitch to investors.
Exactly. Essentially, it's essentially the idea. Whereas a pre-order for a game is a different. While at the end of the day, it might have the same actual impact on the financials and development of the video game. It has a different connotation than a pitch, because you're essentially promising a finished, complete product for the amount of money, rather than a song and a dream.
Right. The pre-order is, we're making this, get on board. The Kickstarter is, we want to make this, please help me.
Yeah, exactly. Cameron, is there anything you wanted to add before we move on?
No, that's pretty much it with that one. But yeah, like I think he's 100% right with his original thing, even if the tone wasn't 100% there.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that's a negative thing though. It gets across, I guess, some of the frustrations of gamers that are experiencing, games being overhyped.
Yeah, well, we have a developer of a very successful game coming out and talking about this, rather than just people screaming on message boards.
Yeah.
So it is, and we're talking about it, so obviously it's getting a bit of a discussion going.
The only caveat I'll put on that is, and I appreciate that he made the correction on his tone here, but in outrage culture, I mean, this doesn't help. Everybody is so quick to just start yelling and get in arms, and it's like, hey, let's just burn this place down. And then whatever's left, we can figure out how to work with it. This probably wasn't the right approach. I understand you're frustrated. It happens. But maybe, I want to know what prompted him to just spout this off. Like, did somebody slide into his DMs and say, God, why did Ori take so long? How come Ori doesn't have a gun? Or a bazooka.
It's interesting coming from him, of all people. Like, I've never heard of him before this, and I don't think he's ever been in anything like...
Yeah, well, again, like...
controversial topics like this, I guess.
Sure, I mean, like, Will-o'-the-Wisps had some technical issues when it came out that they patched relatively quickly, so they're not immune from this kind of stuff.
Absolutely,
but
absolutely.
In terms of Ori, though, like, I just view them as... like absolutely beautiful gems, like 10 out of 10s.
Oh, they're fantastic games. Yeah, no, I'm a huge. I need to go through Will-o'-the-Wisps actually now that they've fixed it up.
Yeah, same. Let everyone else beta test, like you said.
Exactly.
I think it's ready to be played.
Yeah. All right. So, Freem, you put a bit of a topic in here. Do you want to sort of introduce that?
Yeah, it was more of a question, and so I don't know if you guys know my history. I tend to be a little slow on the uptake with podcasts, so I completely apologize if any of this was talked between now and Thanksgiving. I know you guys took a little bit of a break, so I am currently listening to shows that are airing around Thanksgiving, and so I end up hearing the discussions, which is kind of funny in retrospect. Of like, at this point, people are really excited about Cyberpunk on these podcasts, and it's like, oh, this is great, I can't wait till the other shoe drops, because they don't know what's coming. But anyway, there was some discussion about, and actually it's coming up here in March, right, is when the Mario anniversary things are coming to an end. And Nintendo has gone out of their way and said that, they're going to discontinue, they're going to stop this digital service, the Mario 35 or whatever it is, they're going to stop that and kind of lock it away in the Disney vault, the Nintendo vault. And this podcast I was listening to, they started talking about, well, Nintendo has such care of their IP. They don't put their games on sale. They don't license it out to a lot of people. They're very particular about it. And the recurring thread was, well, that's just Nintendo being Nintendo, and they can get away with this bullshit. That's just them.
It was interesting the other day that I found that article and posted in the Discord about the fact that Netflix, back 5-6 years ago, there was a Legend of Zelda deal with Netflix, and then once the news leaked to the press, they basically just went, "Nah, can it."
Yeah.
Completely.
So what that got me thinking is, does Nintendo still have the nostalgia card that is going to keep them with this next generation of gamers? I grew up on the NES and Super Nintendo, right? That was my prime gaming. I was when I was 8 years old, roughly in that age. So tons of free time, very little games, so I could just pour so much time into these classic titles. So I have a ton of nostalgia, and I love, all the different games from Smash Brothers. All the different adjuncts that go into that game. I've played them all, and I love them. They're great. I love Nintendo products. But I have 2 kids now who are in that prime gaming age. And yeah, they do have a Switch, but they haven't played any of those old Nintendo games. Even with the Virtual Console, they couldn't be bothered. And at dinner tonight, I asked my kids, how many Mario games have you guys played? They've played Odyssey, Mario Party, and Mario Kart. Right? They don't have any love for the 2D Marios. They've played one 3D Mario. They haven't played any Zeldas. Metroid is just a character in Smash Brothers for all they care. As my group, my age, and I guess I don't know exactly where you guys fall, but that nostalgia train is running out, and I'm aging out of that where I really give a crap about those old games, because I appreciate what people are doing and iterating on those exciting IPs and coming out with new things. I'll take an Axiom Verge over a new 2D Metroid any day, because it's effectively what I want, and I don't care that it's not Samus. It can be this other character. I don't care. I want the gameplay. And so now my kids are growing up as primary Xbox players. They're growing up with Fortnite. Yeah, my daughter's playing Animal Crossing, but, the rest of their catalog isn't going to support what my family's going to continue to buy. So at some point, all these anti-consumer practices that Nintendo's doing, I feel like it's just going to bite them in the butt, because they don't have the nostalgia pool necessarily to pull from. So I guess I'm curious, what is your guys' take on this?
Cameron, do you want to go first?
I'm just trying to think of the best way to approach this question, because I feel like it's going to come across as very biased. Like, originally I had Nintendo 64 growing up, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advanced, GameCube. Like, I was all the way up until GameCube Nintendo. Swapped to PS2 because that's what most of my friends were playing, and then went on to Xbox 360. So that's my chain of consoles.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of IPs and that, the whole time you were talking, I was just thinking about the fact of the hardware still sells like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Switches sell like absolutely crazy, but are the only reason Mario and that's still selling well is the fact that they're first parties?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just the fact of those are the ones that are, I guess, flogged in every generation? Like, you're going to get your Mario game, you're going to get your Zelda game. Like, it's what's known. It's what's most represented on the console.
Well, yeah. I mean, yes and no. I mean, there's an expectation, right?
Yeah.
In terms of that, we should be seeing these games because these are the tentpole releases, and they are big deals when they come out. Like, Breath of the Wild was crazy.
Oh yeah,
like that's all people talked about, and people still talk about
people
how ridiculous
still do.
That game is. Yeah,
it's insane.
In terms of history for me, so my first console was the PlayStation 1. So to give like I got like I mean I'm 28. I got into video gaming relatively late as a child. I didn't get my first console till 1999, just about. So, like, I got a PlayStation 2 relatively early after that, and then a GameCube as well. But like, I always had a love for Nintendo. But,
See, I'm going back and thinking what I played on Nintendo 64, and it was GoldenEye and Banjo-Kazooie. And I still love Banjo-Kazooie to this day, but none of the main IPs for Nintendo have really stuck with me. Like, I remember playing Luigi's Mansion on GameCube when that came out. I loved that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I played Super Mario 64, loved that as well, but there's no real
ultimately,
to go back to this stuff.
Ultimately, when those games come out, they will be well polished. They will be. They have all released very highly regarded, with very few technical issues, and that's great. I so appreciate that they take so much time and care with their products. But the fact that they don't have a functioning online, the fact that they are, granted, it's awesome that it's a mobile console, but, they're choosing not to compete with the hyper-realism and, having everything on board that the PS5 and the Xbox Series are able to deliver. That's fine. That's a business decision they've made. I'm choosing to use my mobile phone and xCloud instead of a Switch because I can't really fit a Switch in my pocket. But I totally get I would have said when the Wii U came out, I did say, oh, Nintendo's done. Like, they can't come back from this. And sure enough, here they come. They did it. But at some point, if you don't continue to be in the conversation, if Breath of the Wild 2 comes out and maybe it doesn't innovate like Breath of the Wild does, maybe it is just, oh yeah, it was good. It was good. It was a nice sequel. Can that continue to sustain all of these IPs indefinitely? At some point, you need to continue to court these younger gamers, and I don't see Link making an appearance in Fortnite.
No.
That's probably not going to happen.
If Master Chief can appear in Fortnite, I'm sure Link
to be fair,
can.
I'm sure they'll work out something at some stage. Like, Fortnite seems to be the exception for everything, but I tend to agree. In terms of, I think that, like, you're right, their console sales, though, are just so big that I think they just don't care.
See,
and they clearly don't care, right?
Clearly don't care.
I don't know whether it's just the console sales though are selling though because it is a portable console, because it is something that you can take on your daily commute and use in that way as well.
Well, the price point's low.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good price point. Portability, and I think that we are coming at this from the Western angle.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about how big the Switch and Nintendo are in Japan in general.
Yeah.
Right. They've got a whole damn theme park that they're building for Nintendo Land, right? Like, there is a different reverence for Nintendo as a Japanese company that produces. They've been regarded as the Disney of Japan in terms of, again, some of their business practices and their views on how their IP is used, but also in terms of how beloved and how integral they are in terms of a lot of people's lives. And I think the one thing that we haven't talked about is Pokemon, right? Like, Pokemon is one of those things that kids today still play all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that is the Nintendo IP that just never dies. Like, sure, we haven't had a new Metroid for ages. And, I love Metroid, but you're right. Like, things like Axiom Verge and...
Ori.
Like Ori, exactly. Those indie developers have moved into that space. And even... even in terms of, some Zelda games, Zelda-style games, I remember back in the day with the original Darksiders, people came out and they're like, wow, this is literally just a Zelda game. Like, you find a compass and a map in a dungeon and you find something.
Hook shot.
Immortals Phoenix Rising is essentially
Breath of the Wild.
To me, a more updated Breath of the Wild.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly, with some of the Ubisoft trappings in it.
Yep.
And I think that I was thinking about Mario, and I haven't played a 3D Mario game in a long time because I haven't owned a Nintendo console.
Right.
But I remember playing Hat in Time and being like, "This is Mario 64." Like, they just ripped it off in the they just took it and were like, "Well, we don't need Mario in it, but we'll just have some interesting characters with some interesting costume stuff and some condense it down into sort of indie style 3 or 4 areas." But it was 100%. I was like, wow, I forgot how much I enjoyed these games because I just don't play them anymore.
Right.
And I think that you're right. Like a lot of these niches are being picked up slowly, slower than I thought they would be, but they're slowly being overtaken by these indie developers that Nintendo just aren't servicing.
I'm just interested to see if it's going to be a case of they eventually just go into that corner of the market, like whether they decide to keep on going the portability route, the next generation of whatever hardware they decide to do, or are we going to have some massive misstep like the Wii U again?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, like I remember, like Nintendo tends to be on the on the off cycle, right? Because you had like the N64, while it was successful, like got blown out of the water by the PlayStation. The GameCube did relatively well, but not PlayStation 2 destroyed that. The Wii was a huge success in terms of mainstream appeal. The Wii U was a huge misstep. And then, when the GameCube came out and when the Wii U came out, we were like, oh, well, they might as well go third party and just show up on other people's consoles and stop making their own consoles. And then they came out with the Switch and just completely revolutionized how people play video games portably. Yep. Can they do it again? I don't know.
Interested to see, like, when xCloud and that becomes like more prevalent, like, are people going to drop off that kind of stuff because they have it all on their phone?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's technical issues around data caps and stuff like that are going to be the issue. That's going to be the bottleneck for that, because the Switch works as a cartridge.
At the same time, I could make the counter argument though. Games like Control coming to the Switch are essentially running off streaming because they can't support it on the hardware themselves.
I agree, but I think that most people are interested in games like Control, things that have ray tracing, things that are technological marvels and sort of push the envelope, aren't the same audience of people who own Switches.
Okay.
I think most people who own those games own Switches. I have a Switch, or well, my partner has a Switch.
Same sentiment.
Yeah, exactly right. But it's like it is a secondary console in this household, right? In terms of like. Well, okay, she's playing Animal Crossing right now and just gave me a look like
it is a secondary console to us because it doesn't have achievements.
If it had achievements, I'd play it all the time.
Oh, same.
But I think that like I wouldn't be okay just owning a Switch on its own.
Yeah.
Like in terms of the games that I like to play and having that fulfillment, like the Switch and Nintendo have their exclusives, but you're right, they're getting less and less. And when they come out, they're great quality, but it's less of a pull for me in terms of like that's not enough. I need more.
The only appeal I have with Switch is the fact that I know that most games will have a physical release if it is from a third party, and it's relatively easy to get a copy, although pricey.
Mine is the fact that the indie developers love the Switch.
Yeah.
Like I am just waiting for Hades to come to Xbox so bad.
Me too.
All the talk of that game, it's like, man, I want to play it so bad. Why is it on Nintendo and not us?
I'm hearing rumors of PC Game Pass, but I'm not getting my hopes up.
Yeah,
I mean, eventually it'll
really
get to us, and I talk about how much I want to play it now, but it's like, well, I could just wait another 2 years and it'll be just as new for me then, and I still have hundreds of games to play in the meantime. Not going to be a problem, but it does sound like it's super fun. But
yeah, like there's definitely an appeal to be part of the zeitgeist, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, anything with Greek mythology is my kryptonite.
Yeah, obviously.
The thing is, and listen, I am not going to be completely obscure to the fact that Disney, while having very similar practices, is doing just fine. Right?
Yeah,
they
exactly.
continue to showcase their things. They come out with some really amazing new IP, new products. They iterate on the old stuff. They've got theme parks. They're doing just fine. But I think what they've done in addition is pulled in other IP to help bolster their ranks. Whereas Nintendo, I feel, is closing their ranks and kind of holding their cards close to their vest and saying, well, no, we can't risk doing a Metroid because I don't know if that's going to sell as well. So let's just stick with Zelda and Mario and Pokemon because we know we can, and then Animal Crossing, right? We know that's our Mount Rushmore, and we can feel really good about those keeping us afloat. And then just continue to cater to the indie market. It's like, oh boy, I don't know.
Disney will take huge risks and have huge payoffs for it, whereas a Nintendo will just play low risk because they know the rewards in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, and then in terms of their business practices and their their very Japanese style, not embracing a lot of Western stuff, is going to come back and bite them at some stage. But I don't think the other shoe has dropped quite yet, especially with the success of Animal Crossing, allowing them to kind of just coast around for a bit. Which, hey, it is what it is.
To bring it back to Xbox, I completely appreciate the approach that Phil Spencer and that group has taken with being so consumer focused and opening up the doors to really including everybody that they possibly can. And I hope that sentiment continues to pervade throughout the industry. You can start to see the walls crumbling around PlayStation a little bit. The PC has been effectively open source since it started. But Valve is starting to crack with Epic putting pressure on them. We're starting to become more of a global community with people venturing out of their little walled gardens. And I think that's just great for gaming in general. And so while Nintendo can continue to have their watchtower with the high ramparts, we've thrown some things in there. Minecraft Steve has dug a hole in that wall.
Sure.
So we may continue to wear down their defenses and get to a point where everybody's playing everything and we can all benefit.
That's the dream, right?
It'll be interesting if if Microsoft does a 360, 180 on their stuff with their old IPs.
Well,
like Killer Instinct, Banjo-Kazooie, that kind of stuff just doesn't.
I mean, Banjo's over in Nintendo as well, like it's the own Smash Brothers, so who knows?
Yeah.
I'm really curious what Perfect Dark's going to look like.
Yeah, me too, actually.
It'd be interesting.
I love the reboots, right? You come at it with a fresh take. You got some cool ideas, and you don't have to sell anybody on what the world is. Yeah. That work's already been done. Now you can just come at it with fresh ideas, innovation, and a pretty coat of paint.
But we're not gonna overhype it. We're gonna see what it looks like when it comes out.
There you go.
just all that talent in that studio, though. I'm just so curious.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Anyway,
I hope.
All right, let's move on to what we've been playing. Cameron, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll just knock them out. Most of the week start of the week I did some more Yakuza Kiwami. I just knocked out the baseball and the fighting tournaments. Not really much to say. Baseball, I pretty much went from the hardest difficulty down to the normal. Down to the easiest. Easiest was actually the hardest.
Oh, okay.
Because easiest you have to get 16 straight hits out of 20 balls on this, giant billboard. Whereas in everything else, you can kind of just rack the points up in interesting different ways.
Right.
So yeah, that was my little bit of that for the week. Played a bit of Control, going through on assist mode because I'm a dirty cheat.
Unbelievable.
Saying that, I have completely forgotten where I had left off. Pretty much just playing up until you meet Dylan.
Are you playing on the Series X version?
Yeah, no, I'm playing on the original. I might do the Series X version after, though. Just
Okay.
But yeah, no, enjoying it so far. Like the controls, just one-shotting everything and just running through.
Not the real game experience. I mean, look, people can play games however they want. The control is one of those. I mean, to be fair, the combat is probably one of the weaker points of that game.
Saying that, I'm a time-poor individual. I will take every cheat I get.
That's how I play Gears of War as a run and gun. So I'm totally okay with that.
All right. Curious of your opinion on this, Freem. How do you feel you're best gaming, especially being a father?
In terms of time,
in terms of time management, because I feel so time poor. Most of my gaming is done on weeknights. Weekends are pretty much completely dedicated to my daughter. How do you find that management of that?
Well, it's not great. I'll start by saying that, and I'll be completely honest. One of the reasons that the ZZ podcast suffered so bad is my complete disregard for sleep led to a serious bout of depression and had some real problems with that. I've been much better about managing my sleep, but that's typically where I would sacrifice to play games. And so I would wake up early, I'd go to work, I'd come home, I'd work out, spend some time with the kids, eat dinner, a couple hours with the wife, and then at 10 o'clock news came on, she goes to bed, and I play 2 hours of games. I go till midnight. Now the problem is I work too far away, so I have to wake up at 5 a.m., which gives me 5.5 hours of sleep. Not great, but I can function on that until I get Alzheimer's and have some serious problems down the road. But
that's Future Freem's problem to worry about.
That's Future Freem's problem, and he's going to forget that it's even a problem. So I try to be a little bit better now that my kids are older, right? So I have a 10 and a 12-year-old, and so they're into gaming now. My son and daughter will play Fortnite with each other. I needed a co-op buddy for that garbage game Zeros or Z Heroes. I don't even whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, can you just run through this with me? It's just a terrible beat-em-up, but I really could use another player. And my daughter loved it. Just, hey, playing with Dad. We went through and, got a couple of achievements. It was great. My kids look at my achievement hunting and think I'm completely ridiculous. They absolutely don't care about achievement hunting. And I will turn around and say, you just spent $7 on a piece of clothing that you'll wear one time in that game. So don't talk to me about spending time. But that's really probably the best way that I can say in terms of increasing your gaming time. Now I know your daughter's pretty young, so you're not quite there. But as they age, incorporating that into your gaming, because you can still earn achievements while someone else is doing some other things for you. But of course, I'll talk about one of the games I'm playing. A lot of the games I play, you can't really play in front of the kids. So you have to wait till the lights go out, and that's when you can start, decapitating people and stuff.
How do you feel about then stuff like, I guess, assist modes, lower difficulties if there's no difficulty-based achievements, and specifically co-pilot on controllers as well?
It depends on really the experience you're going for. Like I said with Gears of War, I'll take that as a run and gun because I like the world. I think the bosses are cool and the combat is, but I don't want to have to really take my time and respawn constantly because some dumb sniper blasts my head off when I take a peek around a corner. I want the flexibility to be able to do that. Now, do I like an Artifex Mundi game that doesn't have a walkthrough yet? Yeah, that's fun because I have to figure out the puzzle on my own. If the walkthrough is there, am I going to use it? 100%.
Yeah.
Because I can't bear to go through those games more than once. So I try. I definitely use the resources that I have available, but in terms of chasing that gamer score, I don't have any need for console commands. It absolutely doesn't do anything for me. But what I will say is, I played Subnautica legit for about 20-25 hours, and then the console commands came to everyone's attention, and I was at a point in that game where it was like, okay, well, I know what I need to do, and it is resource gathering. And so I can spend a whole bunch of time to do that, or I can just turn on invincibility and do what I like to do, and that is explore this world. So I'm not going to teleport to where I need to go, but I'm going to make it so that these critters don't bother me and my stuff doesn't explode. And so that was like an assist mode that amplified my ability to enjoy that game. Because otherwise, I was just going to let it sit, and then when it was leaving Game Pass, I would have console command and got my achievements, and that's it. Yeah. But instead, because those things gave me the opportunity to play in a way that was low friction, I was able to enjoy that experience. One of the games I'll talk about, there's a complete walkthrough for it, and it is so frustrating. I still, despite them telling me how to do everything, I don't want to go and do it. But I don't have necessarily a problem with it, but I don't like console commands, and I don't care for the zillion, zits, whatever, free title update nonsense. I think that's trash. But I'm not going to fault anyone for how they play games. Like, do whatever makes you happy.
We just fault the content creators that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna love those episodes coming up. I guarantee you.
See, it's like a time capsule. It's just great.
Yeah. Interesting. Made me think too at the same time. Like I like cheat codes in some games too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not just completely just winning the match, but, like, for example, just building up a whole bunch of resources for Age of Empires, and then just rolling in.
I mean,
Well,
that's the joy of any RTS, right? Is
Yeah.
just build. Like that's like I talked about. I think I talked about. I can't remember where, but I was talking about. I was on the Plat to Plat. I was talking about Command and Conquer. My strategy was just build as many mammoth tanks as possible and just roll over the enemy base.
Yep.
It's my idea of a strategy.
I Zerg rushed like a chump, so you know.
Exactly, exactly.
Along those lines, though, you look at modern game design, and we'd use the Konami code, we'd use things to get infinite lives. Like, the concept of a life is so stupid, and in modern game design, there's just no place for that. Like, we're not pumping quarters into these things. Let us continue to play and struggle, and that's overcoming that goal is the excitement, not, oh, I did it, and you only gave me 3 tries, and I did it. That's just adding a level of frustration. So, maybe down the road we'll look back and we'll say, gosh, remember when we had to gather all those resources? That was kind of stupid. It was just really just a means to an end. I'm so glad I was able to just create that stuff because I saw a really cool storyline or a really fun experience when my buddies all got together in this co-op game. And I didn't spend so much time harvesting wool or whatever nonsense, getting all the MacGuffins I can.
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally agree.
Alright, so talked about Yakuza Kiwami, talked about Control, played through, I think, 3/4 of Call of Duty 2's veteran campaign.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, enjoyed most of it. I know this is going to frustrate people, but, like, if I go slow on some parts of this, I just keep on dying. So then I just decide to rush through and somehow pull it off.
Checkpoint rushing.
Exactly. I mean, those old games basically had clown car buildings where essentially the enemies would not stop respawning until you hit a certain point. So, controlled rushing forward is usually the way to do it, to be honest.
So,
and just the constant grenade spam. Oh, my God.
It's
just awful.
So, Call of Duty 2, I'm pretty confident that I will get done over the next few days, and that will be one of my first Call of Duties done for the year. Saying that, I want to find some people to help me boost ranked matches in Call of Duty 3. I don't see many people putting posts up for that, but I mean, I'll see what I can muster together.
You might as well just kind of poke around because there's a good chance you'll find a hack lobby and it'll all just pop for you.
Is that the same for Call of Duty 3?
I thought 3. I mean, no, 5 did, but I thought 3
also
had
definitely
that
did.
issue.
And same thing for Black Ops 2.
Yeah, you might have to do 3 legit, but
oh well. It seems like it's a pretty easy list other than the ranked.
It's not too bad.
Black Ops 3 did a bit of both 360 and the Xbox One versions, pretty much just running through the Easter egg. Adrian's been a really good help with that, or Kiku, as well as Keo.
It's fine. You don't need to shout Kiku out. He clearly told us last night.
He doesn't listen to the show, from what he said. It's like, I'll listen to that song, and then I just turn it off. Probably just does it to criticize your singing, Matt. I'm sorry.
Hey, Adrian. Fuck you. How about that?
Alright, I need to timestamp this just so he listens to just that one bit.
But also, thanks for your help with Black Ops yesterday.
And going into it, Black Ops, we did the Call of the Dead Easter egg last night, which is the one with George. Is it R or A Romero?
George Romero.
George Romero, famous director for what is it? Day of the Dead.
Well, yeah, the Dead series, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead.
Yeah. So we did the Easter egg for that. Then Matt went to sleep, and I helped Keo get the Kill George achievement as well.
We nearly got it on that playthrough. We were really close, but we just fucked it at the last minute.
Kept on running through weapons, and then I just keep on going down because I will run between a group of zombies and just get hit twice at once. Such bullshit.
Yeah, not a big fan of zombies, I gotta say.
I think Black Ops is where it's at, like, the peak. Some of the later ones, like when we were doing Black Ops 3, we nearly got the Easter egg stepped on, and then just Adrian goes down once, and then it's all over. He's a god of those games, though. But, so finished up the week with 1,430 points. And Call of the Dead, the only thing I need to do is the Scavenger achievement now, which is very RNG.
That's pretty much the same here. Freem, what about you?
So with the impending closures of the Microsoft casual games, I put Microsoft Sudoku, the Windows 8 version, on retirement because I just, my computer automatically updated and I couldn't get the old version back. And I thought, let me kick the tires on that again and see if I can't get that old version back. And sure enough, someone had a file that is the old launcher. And so every day I just got to go and reinstall it, the old patch, and play the daily. I spent the end of January finishing all of the bronze and golds, so now just doing February is gonna get that completion for me, which will be nice. And then of course Mahjong just came out on the phone, which is just great. So had to quick get all of January done so that I could get Marathon and Strive for perfection in before the end of the month there. I've been playing a lot of Undermine. I know you guys talked about that a while ago. That is just a perfect smoke break game.
One of my favorite roguelites.
It's so good. It is so good, and it's great when it's just like I can just do a quick level or two, or like a floor or two, if I'm maybe at work and it's like I'm just gonna take I need a quick mind clear, so I'll just go play a level or two, or on my phone. Because it's on xCloud as well. That game is just great. Now, if I really want to make a run, I got to get the controller plugged in because you can only get so far before you really gotta to get in on it. And I'm getting to the point now where I'm consistently making it pretty deep. But I found that lizard in the halls or the fire area for the first time, and he kicked my ass, and so that was the end of that.
Have you completed
That's the deepest I've been so far.
Have you completed a full run yet, or?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. I'm just tipping at the door. Now, I looked at my kill count. I guess I've only technically played like 50 times, because I've only died 50 times. But I've put in a good 20-some hours into it, so I'm loving that game. That is just great. And in another xCloud, which is beautiful with the touchscreen here, Slay the Spire. That is a perfect, while my wife's getting ready for bed, brushing her teeth or whatever, I'll just sit there and do a couple of floors and Slay the Spire. I absolutely love that game. It is so darn hard, but it is just great. And I played quite a bit of Monster Train too, but I love Monster Train, but the fact that all the achievements are so easy to get, I'm just kind of sitting on it until it shows up on my random to-do list, and then I'll just burn through the end of it. Golf with Friends. So that was the game that I was mentioning. There are walkthroughs for that entire game. I mean, you'll tell you, hit the ball here at this much power, and you should be able to get it. It's on my random to-do list as the number 25, the last achievement, and it is getting under par score on some... I'm doing the scavenger, so it's on some course. I don't know. One of the courses I need to get under par. So I went to that Worms course. Oh my god, that is by far the most infuriating level design. And I get that it's clever and you use jetpacks and crap like that, but oh my god, the fact that you only get a minute and 20 seconds to try and get through this thing before you get slapped with a 14 stroke is awful. Just so awful. So I don't know how that's going to end up, because I know where to hit it and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So we'll see. We'll see. I have two kind of standing game nights. I got a group. I know you guys were talking about Strange Brigade. So I have a Sunday night group, 4 of us, that we played Zombie Army 3, or the trilogy. We completed that, and then we moved to Strange Brigade, and we completed all of that. And so after we have now moved to World War Z, and we've done everything on World War Z, leveled up everything. That is a massive grind. I don't know if you guys have played it at all.
200 plus hour, yeah.
Yeah, it is insane. We are now at the point, we did our 100 PvE matches, and we are now going for the insane runs. And you'll watch, these are no longer easy. They took all the mutators out that can help you. So if you put on any mutators, not only do they not necessarily count, but they're all negative. They're all like, oh, the zombies are harder to kill, and you don't have any ammo, and there's no bed packs.
Oh, perfect. So, that's exactly what I want in my games.
And you get nothing for it. Like, no, not even any bonus money, nothing. So we finally cracked one of the 14 levels. We made it through. it was exhilarating. I had one of these because when you die on extreme or on insane mode, it takes 2 minutes for you to respawn back in, and you can only go down twice. So I've got the 3 dudes watching my screen, and I'm at the end of this hallway with just floods of zombies coming down and special infected and all sorts of things. So I would quick boost and be masked for like 5 seconds and try to run around and hide behind a wall and whatever I could do to prolong this this death walk, this death march. But we pulled it off. It was so fun. And the fact that we got one of the levels done gave us the unfortunate notion of hope. And so now I think we're actually going to try to do all of these, which I don't know how that's going to go. But so that's our standing Sunday night. And then I have a standing Wednesday night that we just kicked up. We had played Diablo 3 ages ago. And when we finished the original Diablo 3 with this group, I was a little bit behind, and so I had to get the all that glitters, pick up all the gold. I cannot be bothered with this.
God,
so we
kind of do that.
Yeah, we just abandoned that for a little bit, and that game popped up on one of my random to dos. Somebody challenged me to finish that game in a month. And so I was like, oh, this is it. If there's any reason I'm going to get it done, it's this month, because someone threw down the gauntlet. And so I did. And now we're moving into the 360 version of Diablo 3 with the Necromancer edition. What is it, the Reaper of Souls? So we're working on our hardcore characters. And I'm at like level 30, and I think the other guys are like, when we started, they were in their mid-30s. They're all in their mid-40s, and I'm at level 30 because we have played 4 weeks in a row, and I have died every week. It is so awful. I was so frustrated last. I found some really nice new unique items. I was feeling really good about myself. We played till midnight. I was like, oh, okay. We're not going to get to the butcher tonight, but we'll just go around for a little bit. And some stupid fucking laser came out of nowhere. And it turns out my guy is just a glass cannon, and he just went down. And I was like, this is awful. I just completely wasted 2 hours of my time. That was so frustrating. So I guess I'm technically chipping away at that, but really I'm just spinning my wheels. The final game I want to talk about, and this is going to be more of a kind of a public service, because I had played through Hitman Absolution way back in the day, and I played through on my normal playthrough, got all the achievements, and then all that really was left, I had 4 achievements left to do the professional level difficulty and kind of clean up all the collectible things. So I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity. I'm going to go and do my professional playthrough, the hard mode playthrough. And while I go, I'll just follow, I'll keep an eye on the guide and pick up the evidence while I go. So I was staying on top of the whole thing, and I was making it through. It took a decent amount of time, but I forgot how much fun that game is. You can really get some silly, creative ways to kill people. And when it's on hard, you really got to kind of think about what you're doing. You can't just run and gun it like I'm. Well, I don't want to bury the lead here, but I'm going back through it again. So I finished the game and got my hard playthrough achievement, and I noticed my evidence achievement didn't pop. I was like, oh, that's weird. So I went back through, and I was like, oh, gosh, how did I miss that one? It's in the first level. That's stupid. Like, oh, well, that'll be easy. I'll just level select and go back. Turns out the evidence in the first prologue level causes a glitch that will prevent you and lock you out of getting that achievement.
Oh.
So I went back, I collected it, I got the checkbox for evidence collector, no pop. That is any other one, so I've read on the forums, will have popped the achievement, but there's 2 collectibles in that first level, they do not count.
Oh.
So, I mean, they do count, but if they happen at the last one, it will not trigger the achievement. So
Right.
A word of warning, if you are going to finish that game, get those 2 out of the way real early. And then any of them that you finish after that will be fine. So, as a result, I am doing a normal playthrough as fast as I can.
Of course, right.
To run through, and I'm just going to barrel through that. Hopefully I can finish it this weekend. I'm about halfway through right now. I've played like a couple of nights' worth. But yeah, word of warning. Yeah, that. Oh my God, so frustrating. And it's one of those games where if I don't finish it now, I will completely forget how to play, and that's just a recipe for disaster. And so it is buckle down, focus, let's go. And so that's been my week. Again, pretty paltry in terms of Gamerscore, but that's really my focus. It's all about getting games off my tag. So I'm making progress, and I had fun doing it. It's all about the friends we made along the way, right?
Exactly. It's all about the people we killed along the way. Exactly.
That's right. Pushed into garbage bins and whatnot.
Oh God, I love the Hitman series. It's just so fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. I've been playing a few things, which is unusual for me, but I'll quickly rattle through them. Mantis Burn Racing. The servers got turned back on. So I had just complained about this on the Plat podcast about that being on my list of unobtainables or discontinues that I could never get. Turns out they fixed it, so I ran back to it, unlocked those achievements, and then deleted the game and said I'm never going to go back to this. But I will at some stage, but racing is not my thing. I don't know why I started that game. Well, I do because of fucking random to-do list. Yeah. Also, I've been playing Beholder. They finally released a walkthrough for that, and it's a game where you play. Essentially, you run an apartment, a state-owned apartment in a dystopian future set in 1984. Like literally, the date is 1984. Like it's very, very on the nose, and you essentially have to comply with the ministry's demands around. Okay, this is illegal. You need to spy on this person. Find out everything you need to know about this, evict them or plant some evidence, get them arrested, whatever you need to do whatever. And so you have a choice around, okay, how to the letter do I follow this? Do I just tell them to leave? Do I, plant something in their apartment that's illegal and then get the cops to come around? Or do I...
You get the thought police on the case?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, okay, or do I... do I tell the guy that the ministry is after him and try and organize a way to smuggle him out of the country while making it look like I evicted him? So it's all about and there's various endings and that kind of stuff. It's a very interesting kind of game from a narrative perspective. But in terms of actual gameplay, I don't really enjoy it all that much. But I started it a couple of years ago on a whim because I was happened to be reading dystopians and I thought, it's actually quite interesting.
Is it essentially 1984? Because if it is, I'm sold. But if
it isn't,
I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah, essentially, the apartment that he lives in 1984 with the the screen and everything. Essentially, you run that apartment and you have to spy on all the people.
Okay.
It's kind of an interesting concept.
Papers,
1984
Please,
is one of
the
my
Sims
favorite
edition.
novels.
Yeah, basically, there's actually one of the quests was to get the guy out of the city before evicting him. Was actually called Papers, Please. So they
really?
do.
That's funny.
They lean into it quite heavily. They're very aware of what their what their tropes are. And actually, there's a big joke around No Man's Sky actually in there as well. If there's a cheat code where the guy falls into a coma and gets to go to the center of the city every time, and it just repeats over and over again.
Is it humorous in nature, or is it kind of serious, or what's the tone?
It's pretty serious, but there's it's like dark humor, very dark humor in terms of but it's pretty dead serious in terms of people so for example, I got an achievement for evicting one of the guys or arresting him by planting something in his house, which was the task I was given. And then I went and talked to his wife about it, and then I basically was like, yeah, no, he's been arrested for life and he'll probably get shot. And then she was like, wow, that's pretty messed up. I don't have any support network, so I'm literally just going to drink poison and die in my apartment. I was like, whoa, okay. Jesus Christ. So, I reloaded that and did a slightly nicer ending, but it's a very dark game, and there's some really messed up stuff. But, again, you read, the news articles, and they're, almost, satirically, dystopian. And, I really like the narrative, and I like the setting, but in terms of the actual gameplay, it's kind of wandering around, sneaking into people's houses, either looking for evidence in their drawers while they're out, and also setting up cameras so you can catch them doing illegal activity. And because the ministry puts out, this is illegal now, this is illegal now, this is illegal now. So it's at some stage apparently owning salt will become illegal. So you can basically so I was holding on to it because the guide said hold on to the salt because at some stage you'll want to plant it on someone who doesn't have it, but it'll become illegal, so suddenly it'll become a thing that they're not supposed to have. So it's very interesting, and so you have people moving in and out of the apartments, and you have various quests and side quests to do for them, while also trying to keep the ministry happy, so they don't disappear you.
Yeah.
So without a guide, you could be... Oh, sorry, you go.
Oh, I initially had thought of this as kind of like one of those 11-bit studios games, like This War of Mine, where,
Yeah,
but that is just so heavy, and there's just no respite for just the constant depression. So it's nice that they give you a little bit of levity in there.
A little bit, yeah, but it does have that kind of a little bit of that oppressive feel. Like it is that sort of 2D side-scrolling, moving into buildings. Like it has that same sort of feel to it. Actually, This War of Mine was the first thing that came to mind for me as well. Sorry, what were you saying, Cameron?
I was going to say it's one of those games that I'm guessing will punish you if you're not using a walkthrough then with stuff like Assault.
I mean, like it's very open in terms of how you can approach things. But like so if you just kind of want to go in and just trying to figure out how to kick someone out or figure out quests. But if you're looking to get the achievements, you definitely want to use a guide because there's a lot of branching paths, and the game only saves when you complete a quest. So like if you mess something up, like if you break into someone's house and they see you in there or something, or you steal something and they catch you, like you end up having to replay a lot of stuff if you want to do like a quote unquote perfect run. But there's a video guide on the walkthrough as well that I've been following that's pretty good, but I would make sure to watch it before you follow it because he makes like mistakes. He's like, oh, I fucked this up, I'll have to reload it. I'm like, just re-edit it, but whatever, is what it is.
Are you going to attempt Beholder 2 if a guide comes out?
I might do, yeah, actually, if it goes on sale, because I don't happen to own it yet. Sorry, what were you saying, Freem?
That's exactly like those Golf with Friends videos where they're like, oh, hey, I'm going to show you where you need to go. And it's like, I only have 1 minute and 20 seconds. Like, let's get moving.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't need to hear about, like rating and subscribing,
Yeah. Well, do you guys... This is super off topic, but, I don't know how often you guys look at recipes online.
With the whole life story beforehand.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, and here's where I took a trip to this wonderful place, and I found these... And it's like, how much sugar do I need? Just tell me how many teaspoons of sugar I need. It's
but working in the digital space. I understand why they do it for SEO reasons, but I'm so glad that a lot of them have been putting in skip to recipe buttons at least. I'm like, oh, thank God. Okay,
nice. This is why I just use cookbooks.
I'm sorry. What books?
Hey, what?
Yeah. No. I've also
hold on to those. In the future, they'll be illegal.
I also played through Final Fantasy VIII Remastered. Which took me on a bit of a journey. So I never played the original. I played a little bit of Final Fantasy VIII back in the day, but because my friend owned it, he brought it over, and so we played through a bit of the first disc. And he also had an end game save, so I saw the end, but I missed all of the stuff in the middle of it. What the hell is that game? The story goes places. I was like, okay, what? We're going to space?
Yeah, I've never fully played this game, but I watched the video run through 45 minutes of explaining the whole story, and I'm like, what the hell did I... what space opera bullshit it's straight up... They're
like, oh, we need to go to the moon. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? They're like, yeah, that's where all the enemies come from. We need to go to a space station to find a sorceress. I was like, what did I miss in between the first and last discs of this game? So, yeah, it's very, very strange. Thankfully, it is a game that recognizes that it is a very old game that needs some work. So they've done quite a bit of work in terms of the graphics. The models look a lot nicer than they did on the PlayStation 1. It also has a ×3 speed mode, a mode where you essentially have unlimited limit break, and you basically can't die unless they hit you with a one-hit kill attack. And there's also a mode to turn off all encounters. Now, you have to kill 1,000 enemies for an achievement anyway, so leaving the encounters on is usually beneficial. But those other ones I abused the hell out of, so I just sped through the game in about 20 hours. It's a fine game in terms of RPGs. It's definitely not my favorite Final Fantasy, but I really don't like some of the systems. It's massively overcomplicated in terms of junctioning summons to various characters, and then also junctioning magic to them to increase their stats. And then the magic, instead of using MP, you need to draw it out of enemies, so you have a number of how many times you can cast a spell. And if you have that spell junction to any of your stats, if you have less of that spell, your stats go up less. So you're incentivized to find a spell that's really powerful, attach it to your character, and then never use it. So again, it was I wasn't a huge fan of the systems. The story was okay, if nonsensical.
Out of curiosity, then, what is your favorite?
10. 10 is the best one they made ever.
Okay. 10, I will agree with you story-wise, but 12 is for gameplay. In my
12 has some really good gameplay. Story-wise, it's just Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's literally just Star Wars. The thing I want to call out is there is an interesting glitch with this game that I ran into, where partway through the game, I got towards the end of the second disc, I got to a boss fight, and I used draw to get one of the summons, and that's most of the achievements for gaining the summons, and I just didn't unlock the achievement. I said, okay, that's weird. I definitely got the summon, so I replayed a few times, didn't work. Read on the guide, oh, this one's glitchy. Try it a few times. Make sure you have a save beforehand, which I did. No luck. So I complained about it on the Discord, and Tarragon, who had completed the game, says, I found this on the forums. And someone found the solution was to download the game on another console, redo it, and the achievements should pop. I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous. I've re-downloaded the game. I've deleted my local save. Like, I've done all this. There's no reason why it shouldn't be working. So I dig out the old Xbox One X, fire it up, get an update for it, of course, because I haven't used it for ages, and then download the game, do it, all the achievements start popping immediately. That achievement pops, and an achievement for killing 100 enemies and for drawing 100 magic spells out of enemies, which apparently I had already earned but hadn't popped for me, also popped at the same time. It made no sense. So I played through the rest of the game on the One X because I was like, I'm not risking going back to the old one. Yep. But like, what? So if anyone runs into these issues, that's the solution apparently. I'm scared to play. There's a Windows 10 stack on Game Pass at the moment. I'm scared to play it because I don't have another computer that can run it in case I have to fucking change for some reason. So I was less than impressed in that. But I am probably going to try and go through a few more of the Final Fantasies now. I'm trying to get back into JRPGs. I've been off them for a long time, but now that I've kind of gotten through a lot of my backlog and I'm slowing down a little bit in terms of like having to rush to play and complete things.
Can I recommend something?
What? Yakuza? Yeah, I'm not doing Yakuza Like a Dragon. That's I don't have time for that. That's one for sure. But I'm thinking about doing Final Fantasy 9 actually, potentially. Yeah. But we'll have a look. I've got also started the Dragon Quest 11 that's on Game Pass as well. Got like a couple of achievements in that. So I might play that. We'll see. But like I'm trying to get back into that JRPG space. Anyway, I also did both versions of Carry On, talking about Metroidvanias. This game's great. I don't know why people think it's 6 to 8 hours. It is a 2 to 3 hour game, easy. The game is nearly a straight line, to be honest. Unfortunately,
can Devolver Digital do anything wrong though? Like,
they can do plenty. They can do plenty wrong, but this is they've done right on this. Essentially, this is great game. Like essentially, it is The Thing, but in a 2D side scroller where you just go around eating people and gaining abilities and just fucking shit up. It's like great. I played through it twice and I had a fantastic time. There's only like one type of collectible, and each of the collectibles give you different slightly makes it slightly easier. Like they give like non necessary upgrades in terms of like energy and stuff. But the game is mostly a straight line. You don't really need to follow a guide. Just keep a video guide there for the collectibles, because there are some that you can collect on the way. There's like 2 of them that you can collect on like areas 8 and 9 because you have most of the abilities, and then you need to kind of go back and get the rest of them. The only real problem I have with it is that there's no map to that game. So like in that true Metroidvania where you have the square based map where you can explore the whole thing, this game doesn't have a map. You need to kind of remember landmarks and remember how things connect together. And because they use portals to jump between the various areas, and because the first time you go to an area, you're kind of sneaking into it through a back door, and then you come out of the portal that allows you to go back into it later. It's kind of disjointed in a way that I don't like. But yeah, so it meant like going back, like I had to follow the video guides pretty closely to get back to the areas where those collectibles were. But it's a Metroidvania, but most of it is a straight line. Like you do come back to areas with powers, but there really is only one path. So once you kind of figure it out, it's not that difficult. But I definitely recommend it. It's on Game Pass on PC and Xbox, and there's a stack, so do both versions. And then the main game that I've been playing was The Medium, which I think is probably Bloober Team's second best game they've done. I really like the narrative. The sort of puzzle mechanics are interesting, not terribly complex. You don't really need a guide for them, but there are a lot of collectibles. There's like that game is very, very collectible heavy, and you need to get most of them in one playthrough. So Macca has a really good guide for that. There's only one sort of in-game achievement that you could miss, which is for getting through a very big stealth section without being seen. If you do get seen, just reload the checkpoint. Don't hit continue. Hit load, because it has tiered saves, so it'll keep backups of like the last 5 or 6 saves, which is really helpful. Narrative-wise, it's good. Very sequel-baity, but it's a short, like 8 to 10 hour experience that I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do next with.
Are the collectibles, are they like dependent on being in one world or the other? Or is it like you have to do something on one side that'll open a door on the other, then you can go get the collectible on that side or whatever?
It's a bit of both. Like that sort of split reality stuff is really only, like they said in the stuff, is only about a third of the game. Most of the time you spend in one world or the other.
Oh, interesting.
And they sort of they play with it. So originally it's like, okay, certain areas have memories that split you. And so that you have to sort of solve puzzles by moving between them. And then you unlock an ability so that on the spirit world, you can move further than your regular world. So there are some parts where you can't traverse it, you have to go, but you only have very limited time to do it. And then there are parts where it's like, okay, you can actually switch between the worlds completely. And then there are some parts where it's like things from the other worlds will now come into the real world and you need to deal with them there without your abilities.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
It's like gameplay-wise, the controls are a bit tight, but it reminds me a lot of the original Silent Hills in terms of a lot of fixed camera angles, a lot of like sort of creepy puzzles, not a lot of like quote-unquote combat or like, you know, like not a lot of threats. It's more of a narrative, atmospheric, puzzle-solving kind of game, but when it gets into those like scary parts, it like really hits you with them really quickly, but it's like short, sharp action. I really, really enjoyed it. But like, yeah, the thing is, you're going to spend a lot of time like looking at the guides. But Macca's video guide is great. He doesn't like, he's like, hey, you get to this bit, do this. He isn't like, hey, you need to watch like 10 hours of this while I wander through it trying to figure out what's going on, which is helpful.
Is it spoilery or
no? He's very intentionally like trying to like, he says, okay, like he'll be like, okay, you'll be past a bit where this happens,
yeah,
but like he won't tell you what happens. And he's like,
I
hey,
very much appreciate those types of guides.
Yeah, Macca, I think Macca is like he's really, really good at that because he's been doing this for a long time and he kind of understands that like that's kind of what people want, and he kind of gets to the point quite quickly.
I feel like I did that in Hellblade.
Yeah, exactly. Like Hellblade is another great one for that. So yeah, I would highly, highly recommend playing through this. Like I said, it's on Game Pass. It is a Series X exclusive on this. It's on PC Game Pass, but you will need a Series or a Series X or S to play it. But I think it's a really good, like it's a little bit of a tech demo in terms of it's not a full like AAA like, you know, crafting system and like RPG mechanics and stats and stuff. It is really much just like, hey, wander around, solve puzzles, collect collectibles, and then kind of sneak through some stealth stuff. But yeah, highly recommend it. Definitely jump on it. And you know, none of the collectibles. The only collectible, the only achievement that's difficult is that sort of sneaking achievement. You just have to be very, very careful about getting caught. I was sure I wasn't going to get it, but I did. Also, just as a tip for everyone, you will only get the achievement after you've opened the door with the bolt cutters and you've walked through it. So don't be like me and get the bolt cutters and be like, where the fuck's my achievement, and start panicking. It will unlock a little bit after that. But yeah, I don't know exactly how much I earned this week, but I have been playing a few other bits and pieces, but nothing too exciting. Man of Medan on Windows 10.
You earned... I had it up just before. 5,150.
Okay, that's pretty good, actually. Yeah, so I'm kind of trucking along.
Going back, what do you reckon Bloober Team's number one was?
Observer, by far.
Oh,
I mean, like, it's like... Yeah, Observer is a great, great game. Again, there are some parts where it looks a bit rough. And it doesn't really, you know, like it doesn't signpost very well in terms of like how to progress the game. Yep. But as a sort of oppressive narrative experience, it's just so interesting. I love that sort of dark dystopian cyberpunk future stuff. Yeah, but I think that pretty much covers it.
We'll get into the questions. Do you want me to read out Isaac's?
Yeah, go for it.
Yep. So what contest or challenge is the best way for you personally? G-Task, Warboats, Leapfrog, something community-driven like the random to-do list, or something else? Also, which one has been the best for you getting to play games you've been putting off, and which one has been the best for your school? Thanks. Thank you, Isaac, for the question this week. Personally, for myself, I don't really participate in the contest that much. I used to do random to-do lists just as a bit of fun, just to explore. But I'm very much an individual that will play whatever the hell I like. Or if I am going at a particular goal, it's because I've set that goal.
Yeah. Freem, what about you?
Well, I guess I should probably let people know that I am on the community events team at True Achievements. So I help generate all of these contests and come up with I'm an idea man. Because I'm time poor, I let other people do the hard stuff, and I just come up with ideas. I'm actually kind of excited about what's on deck next, something new. Hopefully Rich and his new guy can get it programmed. But anyway, I am paralyzed by choice because I have so many options. I need something to guide my reticle, and so I use the random to-do list to do that. I'm a scavenger hunt player. I notice that when I know what the achievement is, I try to beeline for that achievement, and I lose the enjoyment of the game, and so I like to take the scavenger hunt version where I can only see the game and have a rough idea of where the ratio is in terms of, is it lower on my list or higher on my list? Is it going to be early in, or do I have to do end game stuff? The first 2 days of the month, I put everything in my to-do list. I start whittling it down based on ratio. That metagaming is probably some of the most fun I do each month. And so, that Slay the Spire achievement I went for today, I narrowed it down to a single possible achievement, and that was playing 10 shivs in a single turn for Ninja. And sure enough, I did it, and there it is. I got my toast on the random to-do list. And so those are always fun, but when I don't have an idea, that kind of helps focus my gaming each night, where it's like, okay, listen, you've got, in this Assassin's Creed game, it's in the first 3 levels. So you finish these 3 levels, you've got about a 70% chance of getting the achievement you need. So it's like, okay, I got 2 hours tonight. I'm just going to do this, and then when I wake up in the morning, we'll see what happens. So I don't play to a point, typically. I play I have an experience, and then I wake up the next morning and see what ended up happening. So I love how that has helped shape. It's given me a funnel to point to a game, but it doesn't pinpoint me to a specific achievement. It lets me play a little bit more open-ended. And there's another contest that I've also enjoyed. I don't know if you guys have. Every year I do. This is my 6th year doing it. Is Freamwhole's Completions Challenge. Yeah. And so I put together a list of, and this is just a for fun thing. I don't, well, you guys did it last year. Kirby put it together or had it for the community. I don't know if you guys are doing it again this year, but so between that, in terms of completions, and then another user, Iron Fist of Snuff, has what he calls Better Completions Matter. And unfortunately, you can't get it now, but it's a year-long completions contest, and he has a random game picker, or he'll pick a game each month for you to complete, and I don't know why I'm so compelled to finish those. Like, for whatever reason, he tells me to finish a game, and it's like, by God darn it, I'm gonna go do it then.
It's like guns being pointed at your head.
It kind of is. Like, so last year I got 11 of my 12 done. This year I'm 1 for 1, and Enslaved Odyssey of the West is my February one, and it's like, ooh. Okay, listen, if I don't finish Enslaved this month, like, I'll never get to it. I got to do my hard playthrough, and it's like, yep. I've just been waiting for a reason to do it. Like, this is perfectly good reason. Let's go. So it's surprisingly motivating to have just one person say, complete this game. Okay, I'm on it. We'll see what happens. So those are typically what motivates me. Because I really don't like GTA SE. It's the same reason I don't play very many multiplayer games. Like, I look at my son, who he's pretty good at Rocket League and Fortnite, and that's because he plays 4 to 5 hours of those games each day, and can practice them each day. And I absolutely do not want to do that. I love variety. I love different experiences. And now that I'm an old man with old eyes, I can't react like that. So like multiplayer gaming has just completely fallen off for me. I play Destiny here and there, and I do like the occasional competitive game, but knowing that I can't be seriously competitive lets me just enjoy story-based experiences or gameplay that's particularly fun, a nice good loop or whatever. And so when I tailor my contest, specifically for like true achievements or things like that, I try to come up with contest ideas that allow people to play games like they normally would and hopefully work toward contests. So, when I pitched the first 12 Days of Christmas, it's like, I'm not going to tell you what games or achievements you need to get. Just get one that has collectibles. I don't care which one you use, but if you're playing a game, find one that has collectibles, and that's all I care about. You go find an achievement that has a double O in it. I don't care where you get it, but if you can find consecutive letter O's, then I'll give you a point. And that can play into whatever. So you can play your dumb racing games, and I can play a good game.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. That's such a great philosophy. I really should subscribe to that. Yeah, for me, I have a love-hate relationship with challenges, right? So like, I've been doing this for 13 years, almost 14, and I trying to hit that 95% completion percentage. Like, I don't, in terms of, and I've said this many times on the podcast, if I haven't completed something that I've started, it's usually for a pretty good reason. Either it's to do with timing, or it's to do with skill ceiling, or it's to do with multiplayer boosting and trying to get a group together. Those are usually the three categories. Oh, there is a fourth category on this game is so fucking shit that I won't bother. But I usually do get back to those eventually because I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't really sign up for G-Task most of the time. Like, I'm not a fan of that kind of format. I was a big fan of UHH. Because I mean that is actually what got me into this community. I played against Kirby, and we had a really good competition. He still beat me into the dirt, and then afterwards he invited me to join these guys. So I do have a real sort of fondness for that competition. Usually not while I'm playing it, because I'm like, why the fuck did I get this achievement? And something like Warboats, for example. So like, I love the idea of Warboats, and I'm playing through it, but I'm like, man, I've got a few hits here and there, but like, I know that this, that's the reason I went back to Beholder, because I had 2 achievements on my Warboats, and I was sure one of them was a hit, and it was not. And I was like, I haven't played Beholder in 2 years because it wasn't really my kind of game, but I was like, I need to go back and try and get this achievement, and the guide came out thankfully this week, so it worked out, but it ended up not being one. So I was like, the other one is something in like Steven Universe, which I really didn't like. So I tend to be, it can be rough, because like I curate my list a little bit, but again, there's not really a lot left on there for me to want to do. I tend to kind of just jump into stuff. Like, I've been a lot more into Game Pass recently, and because I've been going through my challenge of not buying games last year and this year, I am pushing up against the backlog, and I'm coming back to stuff that I'm like, there's a reason why I didn't do this. But having said that, I am overcoming a lot of that. So for example, like this week, I didn't talk about it, but I went through Ken and Lynch 2 and got my last 3 achievements for it. Like, I just was like, hey, yeah. I fell off this for some reason. Like, it was still a little too difficult, or I was like, I'd finished the boosting for it and just kind of never got back to it. But I decided, hey, I really should actually go back and do this. And I did it, and it felt really good to get that, cleaned off and, off the tag. I am also in the kitchen sink competition for the Achievement Hunters Anonymous community, which I wonder who named that. Came up with such a great name for that. Some Kiwi, yeah, exactly right. Basically, the idea of the competition is you get points for everything. You get points for completions. You get points for earning achievements. You get points for ratio.
You get points for taking photos of cool stuff.
Yeah, exactly. There's like scavenger hunts, so they'll give you a list of 10 things to take photos of within games to find. There's ones for spelling stuff. You don't have to. You get half points for just spelling it. You get full points for spelling it in order. There's ones that run, like, the competition is 3 months at a time. So there's 2 spelling things that are for the 3 months, and there's one for monthly. So like they just essentially incentivize you to play all kinds of games in all kinds of ways, and you engage And then
I was
there's an
gonna say,
annual one.
I'm just really interested in just doing every single year.
Yeah,
Except
exactly.
For 2006. Yeah?
Six. Yeah, they took out 2006 and 2021. But the idea being that like they also have challenges in terms of like, hey, finish 3 games that are over 200 hours or whatever, or start and finish a game that's within 200 hours within a single competition period, and then your annual complete a game, complete one game from each of the years from 2007 to 2020. So like you can engage with it as much or as little as you want. I don't tend to do the spelling stuff or the scavenger hunt. I'm really just there to see how much points I rack up for my completions. But it's a good way to get people playing games and sort of build that community around like getting people to go back to stuff. So I sign up for a lot of these competitions. I don't know if I finish a lot of them, but I usually get about halfway through. And I get a little bit involved. Sometimes I do get really, really into it when there's a good chance of me winning. But there are... I am hamstrung by my tag and the amount of games that I have left and what I've played in terms of quick completions and easy completions, but also like in terms of like you, Freem, I'm very much into variety. I don't have the patience to sit there and grind away at a single game in terms of skill ceiling and failing at it until I get good at it. Like it's not really in my repertoire until it'll have to be, basically.
I'm giving Geometry Wars a crack this month, and I think if I don't do it, it's like, well, I think the writing's on the wall there. I'm just not good enough at this twin-stick shooter to be able to do it.
Geometry Wars 2 is another one of those for me as well. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, okay, like I can give it a few tries, but I get tilted pretty easily with that kind of stuff.
100%.
Yeah.
And you watch a video, and you're like, God, he makes it look so easy.
Yeah, he's like, oh, man, he just breezed through it. Get the smile achievement.
Yep.
Jeez.
Ugh. All right. We also have, we have another question from Hawkeye Barry, one of our patrons. We've had more games and high quality games with gold for January, but we're also supposed to see a price increase, which we haven't. Yep. With the increase cancelled, will February be another good month, or are we going back to 4 games with lesser quality? I don't really think so. I think that I think it might have been like a once off, like, hey, don't worry about it, like we're increasing the price but we're giving you a little bit more value. I think we're probably just going to go back to the four games with the standard stuff, because Games with Gold has not been an amazing service for a little bit. I mean, they do have a couple of gems every now and then, but a lot of it is stuff that's already been on sale a lot, or is in Game Pass, or is kind of not the kind of quality stuff that we're expecting. And to the extent that we've been talking about them phasing it out for ages, and we're kind of been, I've been kind of surprised that they haven't already with this new generation.
100%. I totally agree. And I think didn't Gears 5 just have kind of another update? Like, yeah. It's entirely possible they just threw that, like, that wasn't part of the original 4, and they're just like, oh, hey, you know what? Throw that one in there. It's already in Game Pass. We got an update coming. It'll help bring some eyes to it. Like, let's just give them a bonus. We kind of shit the bed on
people incentive
jacking the price up. So yeah. I totally agree. I think this is a one-time thing, and I think we can fully expect to go back to mediocrity.
Yeah, and I think the Gears 5 thing is also it's one of those Series X enhanced games that they've been touting quite a bit because they haven't had exclusives. So it would make sense to put that in front of people who now, a lot of them will have the new console. To give them a good reason if they don't have Game Pass.
It will be very interesting to see if they do keep the 5, though. I could see them keeping 5, but yeah, just not the quality being there.
Yeah.
I just think Feb is just a very strange month where we just seem to got something that like really appealed to everybody.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, but I'm not holding out hope. I think we're right. We'll go back to mediocrity pretty quickly, and I think like Game Pass has obviously been their focus going forward for ages. So we'll just see more on that. And then we have one last question here from Aftos. My question: You've died and gone to hell.
So why does he think we're going to hell?
I'm going to hell. So like that's okay. Like I mean, and if Kirby was on, he's
that's no question.
Yeah. So you've died and gone to hell. There's exactly one game you can play for all eternity. Which game is it?
This is so easy for me.
Yeah, go for it.
Nicktoons MLB.
Oh, God.
I don't know what it was about that game, but for whatever reason, that I struggled with that so bad.
I still haven't finished it.
It is so awful. And I finally cracked it. I got through it, but good Lord, that... if you truly wanted to torture me for all eternity, that would be the game. just miserable.
Yeah, I think I would actually agree. That's a because it's also baseball, so you can just keep playing it forever.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah, actually, that's a great answer.
See, I can't think of any one answer other than the fact of it would be a 200-hour plus game that I would get to the very last achievement and have my cloud wipe, and then have to restart again.
Yeah, the Sisyphus type.
Continuously.
Yeah,
game.
exactly. Yeah, that's Lost Odyssey for me. I still need to go back and the damn DLCs at the end of the game, and I don't have my save file anymore. Anyway,
Do it. You can do it. We believe in you.
Yeah, I might
happened
actually.
with Assassin's Creed 3 for me when I moved it over, and the stupid Portuguese language pack or Brazilian language pack or whatever wrecked my save. And then it's like you got to play for 6 hours just to get to the title card.
Yeah,
It's
Such a long intro.
It happened with Forza Horizon 2 for me the first time around.
Oh.
But I was I think 70% into the game with the "All Your Race Belong to Us" achievement, and completely wiped.
Infuriating.
Yeah, I think my game that would haunt me. I mean, well, actually, no. The game that does haunt me for all eternity is Neverwinter. Like we know this.
Yeah.
Like that's
Oh yeah.
that's the game that never. Like they just released an update for it. They've rebalanced the combat again today. So now basically all of my builds are going to be completely useless, and I'm going to have to dig into it like a 10-page document on how
I think
to
the worst
optimize
thing,
my stuff.
the absolute worst thing that could happen to you is if it just chucks an indivisible. Like
Yeah,
yeah, you get to the very end, they add the last DLC pack, and then they go bankrupt or something, and there's unobtainables.
Unobtainables. Yeah, if that game ends up with unobtainables that I can't get, then I'm just I would
That'd
lose
be
my
the
mind. Yeah, but that's definitely the one.
I'm trying to think of any other one that would be absolute hell.
Eternal, the card game, is on that list for me. That's never going to stop getting achievements. I've completed it 3 times, and it's like just every 2 months it's a new pack, and it's like, oh my gosh. I enjoy
die
it.
already.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. All right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps up the show. We've definitely gone on a bit over, but you know what? I'm not editing out any of this. This is great. I love it. I know. If you want to get in contact with us, you can email us at hello@realgamerscore.com. Otherwise, you can hit us up on the Twitter at realgamerscore. Cameron here manages that.
Hey.
We've also got the Discord, like we mentioned, discord.io/realgamerscore, and the Patreon, patreon.com/realgamerscore. Best place that you send us some questions. We really appreciate them. They always generate some good discussion. I say we have a channel on the Discord for that, which is probably the best place to do it. But Isaac sends them in through email. We always make sure to grab those as well. So however you're going to get them to us, and if we miss them, just let us know. Because again, we have a lot of ways to get them. And Cameron never checks his bloody Twitter DMs. Also, Trimmy, where are you, buddy? Where are you, mate? We need
I haven't got a single message since bloody November, and that's all the community's fault. So everybody, your homework for this week is to send me one message in the DM. I don't care. Actually, I do care what it is.
Yeah. Slide into your DMs
please
there.
keep it PG, because I know some of you in the past have not. You know who you are.
Oh, and I tried it, and it was a disaster. All right, so that pretty much wraps us up. And if you want to help us, subscribe to us on iTunes, podcast platforms. You guys know how this shit works. I mean, you talk about it in boosting parties. I've been talking about the podcast in my Gears of War 2 Japan podcast, and I've got a couple of new listeners. So if you guys have been listening, big shout out to you guys. Retweet our tweets, subscribe to us. You guys get it.
We also have Australia's #1 now as well.
Oh yes, Australia's #1 person.
We're getting all Oceanic.
Well, I mean, we already had me, so that's pretty much you got.
I mean, like not the region, but like every individual country.
Oh, every single person in Oceania is
so you
going
can
to
just
join
rule
the Discord.
among the men.
So Iron Fist. All right.
It's funny that we're at the point almost where I'm at, where our temperatures, the Fahrenheit and Celsius, align at -40.
Whoa.
So,
Whoa.
Oh dear.
Oh boy, that's horrific. All right.
it's so cold.
If you want to get in contact with me, you can find me on Neomaster on pretty much everything. Discord, Xbox, True Achievements. You guys get it. Freem, where can people find you if you want to be found?
Yeah, I don't do really anything. I am Freamwhole everywhere. Usually on True Achievements, any of the Discords. If you want to see retweets of possible contests, you can find me there on Twitter. Otherwise, yeah, I'm part of the community team. So if you guys have ideas and things you want to see for contests through True Achievements, these types of Discords, that we're a part of, they're a great place, the great test bed for things to try out ideas. I did a super convoluted achievement back with the Achievement Hounds podcast, and it was insanely complicated but super fun. Will never work on the scale of a True Achievements, but if you see the similarities between Warboats and the random to-do list, yeah, not lost, right? That's designed that way. So always looking for ideas. I've got about 4 concepts in my back pocket that I'm trying to get dev work on. So just keep tuned to that, and hopefully you'll have some fun.
And Cameron, what about you?
You can catch me on Twitter, managing the Real Gamescore account. You can catch me on TA and Xbox under Shadowless Edge, and under the Facebook group Xbox Achievement Community. And don't forget that Red is a simp.
Red's not going to listen to this, but Valak might, and he'll tell him. All right, well, I think that wraps us all up. Thank you guys for being here, and we'll catch you guys next week. See you later.
Thanks.
Peace, guys.